Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be covering all of the champions in the game that have a default ability that is AoE or attacks all enemies. AoE is area of effect, and the reason these are important to go over is that ability gives you a lot of utility. It's famously very good with the stun set. It's very good with lifesteal because on your default ability, you're hitting lots of enemies, so it can be good if you have good DPS gear on, and it can be very suppressive if you use stun sets, sleep sets, things like that in terms of getting a lot of utility out of champions that have AoE A1s. They can also work very good with champions like Longbeard, Lonicus the Chosen, Catacomb Counselor, people that have abilities that make their allies use their default attack. So wanted to get a resource out there where we cover all of these type of champions that have AoE default A1 skills, and I'm going to go ahead and rank them from worst to first. If you're curious, there's 28 of them by my account, and we're going to go from 28 to number 1, so let's get into it. Alrighty, I'm going to try to bang through these kind of quickly until we get to about the top 10 and the champions get really good. So first off, at number 28, we're going to go Sacred Order and the common champion, Sister Militant. She's got the one ability that is AoE, pretty straightforward and a decent option for early game players. Number 27 is going to be Saurus, an uncommon from the Lizardman faction, and he's got two abilities that are both AoE. Pretty simple, not a whole lot of utility, and does have a really low base speed of 83, but he is a very good campaign farmer. If you get him in insane gear, he can be a 6-second endgame viable campaign farmer with some, early to mid game utility for faction wars as well. Number 26 is going to be an epic from the Lizardmen, and it's going to be Basilisk. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Basilisk. I don't think he's super good, but he does have the AoE A1, and then he's got stun on the A2, and he can revive himself and place a block of damage, but it's a super huge cooldown of 6 turns. So not a whole lot to say about Basilisk, but he does make the list at number 26. Number 25 is going to be Fellhound, a Void Demon Spawn rare champion. Fellhound is very famous for, I think he's the fastest on record campaign farmer. He's got the AoE A1 with really fast animations, so I think he's done 5-second runs in 12-3 brutal. If you get him in ridiculous gear, he can be an amazing campaign farmer, but he does have a pretty high gear requirement. Now, he can also decrease speed. He's based on defense and attack, so 2 different base stats there. That's definitely interesting. And then he's famously used for some good success in the early to mid game in the Fire Knight because of the reflect damage that he places, and he can also block damage on an ally for 1 turn and bring a defense aura and faction crypt. So not a bad option all the way into the mid game for the Fire Knight and faction wars. Number 24 is going to be Zephyr Sniper, an uncommon from the Barbarians. I really like this champion. She's fairly new to raid, kind of came through in a later addition to the game, and she's got the AoE A1 with a chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on each target by 1 turn, and her damage is based on defense. That's a very good A1 for an uncommon. She's also got a base speed of 100 and a little bit of heals. It's baby heals. You're not going to have super reliable healing from her, but it's better than none, and the A1 and the base speed are very good, making her come in at number 24. Number 23 is going to be Banshee, who is a rare from the Undead Hordes. I don't ever see this champion get talked about in the community, but she's actually not that bad for especially early to mid game players who don't spend a bunch of money. She's got an AoE A1 that is a defense break, so very good A1. And then an A2 that is also AoE and does removal of buffs, which is very strong in raid. And then an A3 that is going to block cooldown skills to go along with a resist aura. She is a very good early to mid game option in terms of AoE suppression and utility. Number 22 is going to be Soulbound Bowyer, a Barbarian rare attack champion, and this one is actually pretty popular. I see Soulbound get talked about and used a lot because her kit does synergize very well. She's got the 25% chance of inflicting critical hit, the basically 25% extra bonus to crit on all of her abilities. So I like how they designed her. The kit makes sense. She takes a ton of books though. Look at this, 8 plus 4 is 12, plus 4 more is 16 rare books. So going to be very book intensive if you're trying to build her as a new player, but she is pretty solid if you do get her built up. And then we've got our first legendary coming in at number 21, Richtof the Bold. Now, poor Richtof, he gets called Rip-Off the Bold or Richtof the Soft. Poor guy's been buffed once or twice. It just never seems to be enough to bring him into line with being a good legendary worthy of the legendary status in the game. But he does have the AoE A1. And the thing is, it decreases target's max HP by 30%. It's just too hard to get utility consistently out of affecting max HP in the game. So I would like to see his kit be very impactful in terms of the A2 and the A3, and maybe give him a speed aura in all battles by 23% or something to bring him into line and give him some utility. Now, there is some theory crafting out there that Richtof could be very good in future content that comes out, where maybe this is a little bit more valuable, or you know, like the Hydra clan boss, something like that. But for now, he is not super useful in the game, unfortunately, and probably not worthy of being a legendary unless he gets a little bit more love. Number 20 is going to be Lua, a Void Dark Elf Epic, and you can get her to do AoE on the A1 as long as it's a crit. She's a damage dealer, so especially towards the mid to end game, you're probably going to have 100% crit on her. And then she can also have an inherent lifesteal set with this AoE on a 3-turn cooldown that's going to hit 3 times and heal her for 2.5% on each hit. So that is pretty cool. I do like the design of that, the multi-hitter that heals herself. It's kind of an interesting ability to have in the game. Her A3 also decreases turn meter by 100% and will ignore shield and block damage. So Lua is not a champion that I have a ton of experience with. I do have her, but I've never really built her and invested in her. But in terms of the kit, she seems like a pretty decent epic that could have some utility if you were to invest in her. Number 19 is going to be an epic from the High Elves, Battle Sage, the super basic A1 that's just attack all enemies, but she also places increased attack buff on all allies, and it cannot be removed. And then she also does AoE cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown, so pretty cool there. And she's got revive on death, and the ally will be instantly revived if killed. That is a 3-turn buff, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown when booked. Not super impactful. It would need to be, I would rather see it be an AoE for 2 turns instead of 1 ally for 3 turns. But she also has the all battle speed aura of 19%. So that's a very good aura, and Battle Sage can definitely have some utility to go along with all that AoE on the A1 if you put her in a suppression set. Number 18 is going to be, number 18 and number 17 are going to be 2 pretty similar champions. They're both Demon Spawn. They're both Force Affinity. They're both right next to each other. They're both epic, and they kind of fill a similar role. It's going to be Infernal Baroness and Nezana. So Infernal Baroness is based on defense. She's got an AoE A1 that heals all allies, or no, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 5% of damage inflicted. So she doesn't hit super hard. It's going to be tough to get that to be a reliable source of healing, but it's better than nothing. But she does also have an AoE that, decreases attack on all enemies, and that's why she's so similar to Nezana, because Nezana does something similar. She also places Veil for 3 turns, and if I pull up Nezana, you can see here these super basic AoE A1. Nezana is famous for hitting like a wet noodle. It's very hard to get that to hit very well, so good luck trying to build her as a damage dealer, but it can be good with suppression sets. And then she has the ally protection to help kind of keep your team alive, and then just like Infernal Baroness, the AoE chance of placing decreased attack on all enemies, and a pretty good aura of ally HP and faction crypts by 28%, and a really good base speed of 103. So that was 18 and 17. Let's dive into 16, and that is going to be in the Sacred Order, and we're going to go over Cupidus. Now, Cupidus, again, with a lot of these champions, the A1 is not going to hit super hard because it's an A1 AoE. It's already pretty solid and it has lots of utility. Typically, it's not going to hit super hard or have an amazing multiplier, but with Cupidus, he places HP burns, and this Flame Out ability does have a very good multiplier. This thing can hit very hard, and Cupidus also has a very good base speed of 107 and comes in at number 16. Number 15 is going to be one of the more interesting looking champions in Raid aesthetically, and that is Sky Touch Shaman. Now, I recently spent a lot of time playing around with her. I was able to use her as kind of a heal carry to complete the Barbarians Faction Wars. I did stage 21 kind of featuring her and did a champion guide on her, and yeah, you can get some good heals out of her, some good utility. You just have to be careful because she can kill herself slowly. She damages herself by 10% of max HP at the start of each turn. So she does heal based on her A1 in the right circumstance, but I found it's not super reliable. It's really hard to get her to self-sustain herself, and she does pair exceedingly well with someone like Syl of Drakes in terms of doing the Faction Wars. Syl is the login reward that you get at the end of your login cycle for raid, and Syl pairs very well with the Sky Touch Shaman in terms of kind of sustaining each other, and Syl can even pick her back up if she dies to kind of keep her alive and crank out those insane heals. So Sky Touch Shaman is a cool champion that requires a lot of kind of management and balancing to get to work properly, but she is very interesting and comes in at number 15. Number 14 is going to be an undead legendary Scartorsis, and you know, the more I think about it as I was kind of preparing to do this video, gosh, I like this champion, and I probably should have rated him a little bit higher than number 14 on this list. The AoE A1 that it removes a random buff from each enemy that you can book up to a 50% chance. It does require 5 books on an A1, which hurts. But man, that's a good A1. AoE buff strip on an A1 default ability. That's really cool. The base speed of 109. The A2 that increases attack and crit rate. I don't really love the A2, so for a legendary to be increasing crit rate, I think I would give this a little bit more utility, but the A3 is also kind of cool. It just has a pretty big cooldown, but it does have remove all debuffs from allies and heal them and fill turn meter. It's got a lot of utility, and then the aura is very cool as well. Ally speed in dungeons by 33%. I just wish the A2 had a little bit more utility, and then he would have really shot up the list, but in terms of A1s, I love it. AoE buff strip is absolutely incredible to have on a default ability. Number 13 is going to be a high elf legendary Yannicka, and Yannicka has an interesting A1. It's going to be attack one enemy 2 times, and each hit has a chance of placing a leech, or it's going to be an AoE if she is under a Veil buff, which she does place herself. She places Perfect Veil on this champion for 3 turns if critical on the A2 and grants an extra turn, so that's pretty cool there. And then we've got another AoE that will ignore shield buffs and remove shield buffs if this champion is under a Veil buff, which again is going to be pretty consistent, or Perfect Veil, then deals extra damage equal to 15% of the removed shield buff. So if you're removing a big shield, she can hit very, very hard. And then ally attack in all battles by 30%. They got this right. So I believe Yannicka used to be increase spirit ally attack by like 36%, and that's just too hard to get consistent value out of. For a legendary that's going to have an aura, it should be a little bit more consistent than that. So they got that right in terms of buffing her a little bit and changing that to be all battles by 30%. She's got pretty decent base stats at 100 base speed and a decent amount of base attack and defense there. So Yannicka comes in at number 13. Number 12 is going to be Sinesha. I really love Sinesha. You can go a few different routes with her. You can build her as a DPSer, or you can build her as a support for Faction Wars and Dungeon CC. She's got the HP and faction crypts by 31%. That's an insane aura. She's got a good base speed. The AoE A1 that places an extra hit if they're under 50%. The Vaporize ability has an insane multiplier. If you build her as damage, this thing hits super hard. I've hit for like 140k in the arena with this thing, and it puts the target skills on cooldown and target heals that are clutch and go on the ally with the lowest HP. And then the immortality ability here can equalize HP and be a high value healing ability. So Sinesha, a very cool epic, and I really like how they designed her. She's one of the cooler epics in the game in terms of kit design and utility. Number 11 is going to be Sylar, a void epic from the Dark Elves, and I really love this champion. I think I'm a little bit higher on Sylar than most of the raid community, but I really love how she's designed, and I had a lot of fun building her and kind of using her in a few different scenarios. The A1, super basic, but the A2, that decreases accuracy, and you've got a 100% chance of trying to place that. That's basically like resist for your whole team. That is good in so many different areas of the game. And then this ability here on the A3 that decreases speed on all enemies for 2 turns and decreases their turn meter. If you get her with insane speed, that can be very consistent speed suppression, and then ally speed and faction crypts by 22% with a base speed of 105. She's insane for Faction Wars. She's good in the arena. She's really good in a lot of different dungeons, the spider, all sorts of different areas of the game. So Sylar comes in at 11 and is a very fun kind of support type suppression epic to build. Now we are getting into the top 10, and who better to kick off the top 10 than Bellower? If you are a new player, Bellower is one of the best champions you can get in terms of helping your account progress, because he's got so much AoE. All 3 of his abilities are AoE. So then he's going to place block cooldown skills as a default A1. Then the A2 decreases speed, and the A3 decreases attack and defense, and then he's got ally speed and faction crypt. So look at all of that utility on this kit. So much AoE, suppression, and debuffing, and he's void, so he will never hit weak, and he's got a base speed of 99. So Bellower can do so much for you, and I could not have a top 10 that did not have him in it. Number 9 is going to be Suzerain Catan, a legendary from the Undead Hordes. And this is a guy who doesn't get talked about a whole lot in the raid community, but he's probably not as bad as you think. The A1 is going to be AoE speed debuffing, which is pretty cool. The A2 is also AoE that can place a weaken or a defense break, so very good there. And then the A3 is going to be remove shield, block damage, and unkillable buffs from all enemies, then attack them and place a 100% heal reduction. So that ability is going to be really good in the arena, and he's got an ally attack in all battles by 33%, which is kind of meh. But when I was doing my platinum meta analysis and I was looking at, what kind of champions people were using in platinum arena, I was seeing some teams that are featuring Suzerain Catan up in platinum. So lots of AoE, lots of debuffing and utility and buff removal. So not as bad as you think probably, and coming in at number 9. Number 8 is going to be someone you are probably familiar with in terms of having to deal with in the arena, and that is Tormund the Cold. This guy was a fusion a few months ago and really shook up the arena in terms of being so suppressive, and he does have the AoE A1 that has a 15% chance of placing a freeze. You can book up to 25. He's based on defense. He's got a passive that can be very suppressive as well, revives himself, and an allied defense in all battles by 33% aura. So Tormund, very generally useful, very suppressive, and very good to have on your account in terms of using him in a bunch of different areas of the game, like the arena and faction wars and dungeon CC. Number 7 is going to be Skullcrown, an epic from the Night Revenant. Now, Skullcrown, just like Tormund, you're going to see her a lot in the arena, and that's because of the speed in the arena aura of 23%. She also places an unkillable buff on herself, so she's tough to get rid of. And then her Corrupting Touch is one of the hardest scaling abilities in the game. She's got a 1509 base attack, so you can get this A2 to hit insanely hard. She's also got the AoE A1 that places an extra hit if they are more than 50% HP. So Skullcrown, a very well-rounded and solid damage dealer, coming in at number 7. Number 6 is going to be a champion I don't have, but I am a massive fan of, and that is Biggin. Again, one of the better champions you can summon as a new player in terms of just being an account carry for you. The A1 that is controllable in terms of making it AoE, because as long as you crit, you can control that and make that effect proc. He's also got more AoE that decreases accuracy and places a stun, and then more AoE that decreases turn meter and speed, and then accuracy in dungeons by 90 with a base speed of 104 and an insane base attack of 1575. Biggin is such a well-rounded and amazing champion. He comes in at number 6. And now we're getting into the champions that are in the top 5, and these are the champions that I think are insane. And Ray is so cool. She's got a cool name, cool aesthetics, cool outfit. She's got a cool kit. She's got just an insane synergy and so much AoE. The A1 that is AoE defense break is just amazing. The A2 that inflicts more damage based on targets being under debuffs, which is always going to be the case. And then the A3 that is AoE buff strip and place a freeze, and then the speed in dungeons by 33%. Wow, Ray can be both a damage dealer and an amazing support. So good in basically any scenario except for the clan boss, and she comes in at number 5. Number 4 is going to be Corrin. Now, Corrin is going to be hard to acquire because he is a new champion, and he's also a void legendary. So not a whole lot of people are going to have him yet, but he's got a lot going on with his kit. What you need to know is if you have Manaya, he's insane with Manaya. He's got a lot of AoE. He's also got attack and defense break. He's also got counter attack when people hit him, when they are under those debuffs, and he's always going to do it with Manaya. He's also got a passive that's going to buff his defense for all allies for 2 turns whenever he gets a kill. And he's also got AoE provoke to boot while being a void legendary with insane base HP, 27,000 30% base HP. So yeah, Corrin is definitely a big time addition to the game, and he comes in at number 4. Number 3 is going to be one of my favorite champions in Raid Shadow Legends, and that's a legendary from the Demon Spawn, Prince Kaimar. I just did a champion guide on this guy, and in terms of summoning him on your account and what he unlocks for you in terms of speed running and farming and utility, every good account is going to want a Prince Kaimar. Now, there may be some people that argue Kaimar's too high at number 3 for this list. He should have been down in that like 5 to 8 tier. But just in terms of having him and how much of a quality of life he is in terms of doing cool manual strats and being good in the arena and doing super fast speed runs, Kaimar is just too amazing. He's got the AoE A1 that plays as poison. Very cool. The A2 is going to be AoE buff strip that also places as sleep. Wow, that's insane. And then the Seal of Magic is one of the more famous abilities in Raid. Reset cooldowns of all ally skills. You have him go last in your rotation. Boom, a reset. All of those high impact abilities. Oh, and by the way, he's got one of the best speed auras in the game at 30% for the arena. In the arena, arguably the best aura is speed, and he's got one of the best in the game. He's only 2% behind Lord Shazar, who has the best at 32. So with a base speed of 103 and really good base stats, what is there not to like about Kaimar? He is an absolute legend, and he comes in at number 3. Number 2 is going to be another brand new Void legend. Well, I shouldn't say brand new, newer legendary to the game, and that is Krisk the Ageless. The AoE A1 that decreases speed, and he's based on defense. You know I love that. More AoE with ally protection and continuous heal, and then AoE Provoke that places increased defense on this champion and 30% increased speed on all allies besides him, and then a passive that is basically a shield set. So wow, and look at that base defense of 1520 and the base HP of 19. You can really scale this guy to have really good stats and be so suppressive and game-changing for you. If you get this guy, it is absolutely game-changing for your account in terms of progression. And when I was in Plarium's Gold Cup competition, I was lucky enough to summon Krisk, and he was a big reason why I had a lot of success in that competition. He is a huge account carry, and he comes in at number 2. And now we are at my number 1 legendary in the game. Well, I should. And now it is time for my number 1 AoE default ability champion in the game. And do you know who it is? If you don't know who it is, we're not friends, because you just have to look at the channel art for my channel. And it is going to be the one and only Bad El-Khazar. He's got the AoE A1 that heals all allies based on 20% of damage inflicted. Not super huge, but it's not bad. It is, you know, a little bit of pretty consistent heal. It's not going to be some massive crit heal, though, so don't expect a bunch of healing coming out of Bad El. He is known for this A2. It's AoE Cleanse on a 3-turn cooldown that places 2 15% continuous heal buffs and 2 5% poison debuffs on all enemies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So AoE Cleanse, AoE Poisoning, so much utility. And what Bad El allows you to do on your account is take off the training wheels in terms of needing lifesteal on everybody. His heals are so insane that he can help you clear content you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. You can also play slower strategies and just kind of poison things to death while you keep everything alive with his heals and his AoE A1. And then all of his allies are going to inflict 20% more damage to targets under poison debuffs, which is going to be basically permanent. I don't even need to go over the crit rate aura in all battles. It's not needed. He's already insane. Before that, the base speed of 102 and the good base defense and base HP make him an extremely well-rounded and valuable champion to have on your account. And Bad El comes in as my number 1 AoE default skill champion in Raid Shadow Legends. Alrighty, and just to wrap up, let me pop that up here and we will go through really quickly. We've got Sister Militant, Saurus, Basilisk, Fellhound, Zephyr Sniper, Banshee, Soulbond, Bowyer, Richtoff the Bold, Lua, Battle Sage, Infernal Baroness, Nezana, Cupidus, Skytouch, Shaman, Scar Torsus, Yannicka, Sinesha, Sylar. And then in the top 10, we've got Bellower, Suzerain, Catan, Tormund the Cold, Skullcrown, Biggin. Top 5 is Ray, Corrin, Prince Kaimar, Krisk the Aegis, and number 1 is Bad El-Khazar. So obviously, guys, I would love to hear what you think champions I have too low or too high. I always enjoy hearing your perspective and kind of reading through the comments to see how the community feels compared to me, and kind of helps us all learn from each other as well. So don't hesitate to let me know what you think in terms of where I was right and where I was wrong. And as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.